Who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes? You one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
Donald Trump has never been a particularly smart man. He was never able to communicate about strategy or articulate policy thoughts or really understand any of the actions of his administration in a meaningful way, which is why it's so shocking that somehow he's gotten dumber over the years. I didn't think that bar could be any lower, but every day as we observe Donald Trump's cognitive decline, which the mainstream media refuses to cover, it becomes more apparent that he has lost whatever semblance of his mind that he had left. And never has that been more clear than when Donald Trump, an oppressor today, was struggling to speak about one of the biggest military scandals of his entire administration so far. And we're going to get into it all. Before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, of course, Donald Trump is bound to ramble in all of these pressures before he is asked questions, and that's just how he started talking about his birthday parade right here.
And I really believe it's a shame. You know, I was watching for the last week, and I noticed France, I noticed other countries all getting ready for Victory Day. And I said, that's sort of strange, because David just added something. He said, we also rebuilt the world. And I didn't have that, and I should have that. That was a big factor. But I noticed all of the countries, Russia, having a big day tomorrow. And by the way, they lost millions of people, and they were absolutely a major factor. But there was no major factor like us. We won the war, and we won it with the help of others. But everybody was celebrating but the United States of America. And I said, you know, I think it's time that we start celebrating victory. And that's what we're doing.
So Donald Trump, whose entire administration has claimed its goal is eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, is throwing himself a multi-million-dollar birthday party under the guise of celebrating our military. Now, that might be plausible for a different president if the president wasn't one who called fallen soldiers suckers and losers, who has put Gold Star families in harm's way, who does not care about our military at all. If it wasn't Donald Trump, maybe that would be something we could understand. But this is very clearly just an effort to throw himself a big birthday party. Why? Because it is always about Donald Trump. It is always about his own grievance. It is always about lying to suit his narrative, which is what we saw when he was asked about trade talks with China right here.
We will, but we haven't made that decision yet.
China said the U.S. initiated the trade talks this weekend and that its position hasn't changed. Are you still confident you can reach a deal with China?
They said we initiated? Well, I think they ought to go back and study their files. Okay, I do think that. Go ahead.
I know he's a pathological liar, and so he can't do anything but lie. But we have seen this story again and again. The Chinese embassy has denied that any trade talks have taken place. It's why they're about to start instead of continuing. Well, Donald Trump tries to say that no, China's been, constantly, the phone is ringing off the hook. That's just not the case. It's not. And it's why Donald Trump continues to attack China and pretend like we're in this strong position like he did right here.
In Switzerland, what do you expect? What do you hope to come out of it?
We'll see. I mean, look, we were losing $1 trillion a year. Now we're not losing anything, That's the way I look at it. We were losing with China on trade $1 trillion a year. More, actually. 1.1. But let's say $1 trillion. You know what we're losing now? Nothing. That's not bad.
We're not losing anything. We're encroaching upon a recession. Businesses are going to shutter. People are losing their jobs. We'll lose their homes. Prices are skyrocketing. The dollar is losing standing. And what do you mean We're not losing anything. Maybe you're not as you get rich off the patronage of CEOs trying to protect their big businesses, but the rest of America not doing too well. But it's not a shock that Donald Trump doesn't understand his own trade war. He doesn't understand anything. And that was very clear when he was asked about the Houthis in a rant that he went on, unable to speak clearly in any way about the operation that was carried out around Signalgate. Just listen to how confused he is.
Take a look. But, we had really a very good, as you know, we had a very good outcome with the Houthis, and we honor their word. I mean, they made a commitment, and we dealt with other countries that were close to them and their surrogates, and we honor all of their words. We'll see what happens, but I think, I believe that hopefully that's over with, and they'll leave the ships alone, just leave those ships alone. But so we take their word for it. It was, we hit them very hard. They had a great capacity to withstand punishment. They took tremendous punishment. And, you could say there's a lot of bravery there. It was amazing what they took. But we honor their commitment and their word. They gave us their word that they wouldn't be shooting ships anymore, and we honor that. I want to thank you all for...
So clearly, Donald Trump doesn't understand who the Houthi rebels are. He doesn't understand what the conflict is. We're going to honor all of their words. He can't even articulate what he wants to say because he doesn't know what he wants to say. This is a confused old man. And I said this in a previous video. I think no matter what the topic, I'm just going to restate it again and again. The press has been self-flagellating over a lack of coverage around Joe Biden's age, which I don't understand considering that's the only thing the press ever talked about. Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felonies. And I think on that day, the headline was, Donald Trump convicted of 34 felonies. What does this mean for Joe Biden's age? Like 34 is a much younger age than Joe Biden, who is 80. Like that's all the press ever talked about. And now they refuse to cover the clear decline of the current president who wants to be king forever. What are you doing? The mainstream press has failed just so tremendously to cover and act on any of the values they claim to have around the age and decline of elected officials. It is right before your eyes, and they refuse to talk about it. Donald Trump has manufactured a recession with his stupidity and his decline, and the press does not want to cover it. The only people fighting back are elected Democrats trying to hold Donald Trump's administration to account. And that's what we saw right here with the grilling of Scott Besson.
4 decades, we've had trade deficits in the United States of America, and nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents? You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress. That's just unbelievable to me. Let me ask this question. Maybe I missed it. Who was the president and who has been the president since January 20th, 2025?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. And who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes? Are you one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
I am not.
You're not? You said one believes? Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States and it should be abided by?
I believe in the Constitution of the United States.
So you believe in it without any second thought. You don't have to think about it. You believe in it and you would abide by it. Is that correct?
I have and I do, sir.
Okay. But do you know that a president has said he may or may not, he don't know? Let me ask this question. I couldn't believe my trade deficits constitute a national emergency.
The hollowing out of the U.S.
No, just yes or no.
class.
Yes or no? Yes or no,
It's a
sir?
national emergency, sir.
It does. It does. You're telling me trade deficits equals a national or creates.
Persistent and prolonged.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you know also, sir, that for the last 4 decades, we've had trade deficits in the United States of America, and nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents? You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress. That's just unbelievable to me.
There is a reason that Scott Besson is struggling through these hearings. I don't think it's because Scott Besson is stupid. He has obviously had success in his life. He clearly understands markets. I don't want to praise him too much because he's working for Donald Trump. And I do not, subscribe to the belief that if you're rich, you're smart. That's not how that works. But Scott Besson clearly has an understanding of these things. Why he looks so stupid is because he's trying to defend Donald Trump's stupidity. If you asked Scott Besson a year ago what he thought about tariffs, I'm sure he would have given you a well-articulated, thoughtful response about how damaging they are when they are wildly misused. But he can't say that now because he has to be a yes man for Donald Trump, and it is humiliating as he throws the entire economy under the bus. This is someone that was considered like a normie selection for Donald Trump's cabinet. And now, as always is the case, he has fallen in line, completely spineless and screwing us over. And the rest of his business buddies too. I guess they don't care. These people are incompetent, just like their boss. We're going to keep calling that out every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.